V-Gates. All right, guys, we're gonna get started on our D-Day board. I've been talking the last couple videos about. Kind of made some changes. I know in the past I had talked about when we were building the new 6x6 table. I was going to make basically a 2-foot by 6-foot tile, and got to studying you know, the stuff about the D-Day landing beach, primarily Omaha Beach. It was really you know, they attacked it obviously at low tide, so it made it a much wider beach area that was needed to be covered by the American troops. And also another tip that I had for you guys, if you're looking to build a D-Day board for either bolt action or flames of war, is you simply just go on Google Maps, because I kind of was having trouble with finding references to the color of the ocean, because I know in Normandy, different times of the year, especially June, it could be stormy, and the color of the surf, and I kind of wanted to really duplicate that really well. So I simply just went to Google Maps and clicked on the Earth view, and it was really telling, especially if you focus in on the American cemetery there at right at Omaha Beach. It's pretty amazing. They really preserved that little slice of the beach for the cemetery, and it really shows you what the approach looked like to the Americans. And it was really more of a rolling hills, some scruff, a little bit of vegetation, and obviously they had their pillboxes and things up. But you can really get a great view of how the Americans were, you know, at a lot of disadvantages, because they were seriously on a low point, and obviously the Germans were on a high ground. I can think it was even worse further up the beach when the troops were going up against sheer cliffs. But I highly recommend you go on that Google Earth and really scan up and down that coastline of Normandy and see the different variations of the cliffs to the rolling hills. Obviously, right, what is there now has a lot of homes and things along the ocean, but if you go down towards where the American cemetery is, you can see really the topography that I'm going to try to create on this board. The other thing I discussed was making the hills so they're movable. I'm really not going to do that. I'm kind of just going for the Omaha Beach landing site. I'm going to permanently attach the hills because I really want to capture that D-Day, a slice of the D-Day beach just the way it looked. We'll go out here in the workshop here in a minute, and I'll show you what I'm working with to do that. And then I'm calling this basically like a mini board. I'm just going to keep it its own freestanding mini board. We can put up, we'll do the landing craft, we're going to do the pillboxes, and it'll recreate the landing portion. And then once the Americans get up onto the higher ground, we can switch over to the 6x6 board and duplicate you know, the hedgerows and the things that the troops dealt with. But it was really a great thing to see how it was just amazing to me that the odds that these troops were up against, and honestly I'm kind of surprised that the Germans didn't repel them, because the Germans had every advantage in the world. I think that we just caught them, the Americans caught them off guard basically. I don't think they were full strength. I think that there were some things that went on behind the lines where they really thought the invasion was coming to Calais. And if you're a history buff like I am, you really can tell that there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes that really hurt the Germans. So I'm going to put this thing on pause here real quick, and we'll go out in the workshop and I'll show you what I'm working on. Okay guys, we're back. I'm going to show you, this is basically just a little slice of a foam board, and what I was trying to do And what I attempted was to make a test piece. And as you can see here on this test piece, I did some searching on the internet and I found a great way to see how how amazing that water has turned out. I'll try to turn it here. There's some glare here from this light. I'll try to get it so it's not so much of a glare. But you can see how I did. The color of the water is more of a greenish. I did the sand. And this material here that's given us this nice water effect is accomplished by using just silicone. And you can see you don't have to use the thick layers of resin. Now I am experimenting with getting the silicone more with a putty knife, so I can get less of the swirling. But then I took a dry brush with white and I just dry brushed the very top of the silicone to give it that frothy, foamy white. But I'm still working with the color combination here. I did some green with the blue. I'm going to go with a darker blue. But like I said, if you go to Google Earth and you look at the color of the water, it's really a combination of a dark blue to a greenish color as it comes up here to the sand. So this is how we're going to do the approach up to the beach. We're going to do a silicone, and you can see you can do it really thin. It doesn't have to be thick to get the same effect of the water that you would have to use with a resin product. Again, I don't recall the website I went to, but there was a gentleman on there who described how you could just simply use silicone, you know, a clear silicone, and you can see the great effect it gives. It really looks just like water. And the way you get the color, you can color it blue, green, and you basically paint your board surface first, and then you put the silicone over it. And we'll work with some different techniques to get this a little smoother and look at a little bit more like the water's lapping up onto the beach. And then you use a dry brushing technique with a good old fat dry brush and some white. And then of course I just use regular sand. But that's our test piece to try to work out exactly how we're going to do the beach landing. Let's come over here. I took our tournament board and covered it with just an old sheet. And what I ended up going with here, guys, since I'm doing basically what I would call like a mini board, I'm going with a 1/2 inch polystyrene on this. So it's not that thickness, and we can really augment the size of the hills better. And so basically this section here is going to end up being the area for the beach. And then as you come up towards this area, we're going to be working with the hills. Now this is what I wanted to point out to you, some of the techniques that I'm using. Obviously Beasts of War, some other guys out there have got, I'm certainly not a pioneer on this, but you can see I'm using different grits of sandpaper. And actually later today I'm going to be going out to the other workshop and grabbing my palm sander, which is the palm sander is more of it's a motorized device. Obviously I won't have to use the sander like I'm using this, which is a common drywall tool. You can buy the various bits of different types of sandpaper, various grits. This is kind of a medium to a fine grit, and you basically use your hot wire. Okay, you start with a square piece of foam. You can cut them in different sizes. You don't have to use a big piece of foam like that. And you basically cut them down to a section like this using your hot wire cutter, kind of carving off the edges. So basically then you come back in with your sandpaper and you can sand down and really round the hills out. Because if you look on Google Earth, what you're going to be looking at is, as we get up to this section of the board here, you're going to have some series of hills and little breaks in the hills, right? So you basically end up wedging a couple hills together, and these will be your entry points that, if you've watched Saving Private Ryan, where they have kind of come up and wedge right up through these little breaks in the hills that are still there to this day that you can see on Google Earth. So that's what we're looking to mimic, and obviously we'll put some little scrub and some light turf like we've done over here with this hedgerow. So we'll be basically using clump foliage, probably some small trees and things like that. We'll do. Now we're going to do the whole board again in sand, except for the area where the water is going to be. The water we're going to do with the green, dark blue, and then we'll use the silicone. Now the silicone, I'll show you here. Now I got this. You can get this at any hardware store. This is a product from True Value. Now this turned out being good stuff because it's only $5 a tube. It's just a 100% silicone rubber sealant, as you can read, and I've not used very much of it using some of my tanks. I'm thinking I'm going to use probably 2 tubes of this, so $10 worth of silicone, and then I'll come back in. I've got a larger putty knife than this. I'm going to use my larger putty knife, and that way I'm going to go this way with the water, and I'll probably do this type of a pattern, and I'll try to swirl the water, in this case the silicone, up onto the sand to give us that nice water effect coming up onto the sand. And then this will be basically just strictly a D Day Omaha Beach landing board for doing the new Flames of War battle book that they came out just for D Day. So you'll want to check that out. I think it's $89, $85 if you buy the twin book set together. So, it's something I'm really looking forward to. I've been wanting to do a D-Day invasion board for the last couple of years, and this is going to be something awesome. So, again, this is another one of those games. I don't know why I'm losing my light here. Another one of those games where you can really learn a lot about history. Just in the last week, doing the research for this board, I've learned a ton about D-Day that I didn't know. I keep losing my light. Here's my light. We've got 10,000 American troops buried there at the Normandy burial site right at Omaha Beach. And if you research the German burial site, which is further inland, there's over 20,000 Germans buried there. So it's amazing when you think about, modern warfare with Afghanistan and Iraq, and we're talking 3,000 casualties over 5 years. It's like, and not that I'm trying to discount a single casualty, because every one of them is precious, but to think about the huge loss of life just on that single day. And then as a true historian, a student of history, that even pales to what the World War I casualties were. The World War I casualties were ridiculous. I mean, they would lose 50,000 men in one day on a trench battle in one day. So it really drives home the point. You had to have two big groups of people that were really pissed at each other and really worked up to lay that amount of life down fighting each other. So again, we've got this board set up. I'm still toying with the Army lists. Basically, this is going to end up being an SS Totenkampf, or Deadheads company, comprised of Panther G series tanks, as you can see here. I've got my heavy mortar platoon. I'm going to go with my SS Panzer Grenadiers, some more Panther Gs, definitely anti-air. Whenever you're playing late war against Americans or Brits, you're going to have to bring anti-air, because the Germans only have sporadic anti-air, and the Americans or British are going to be coming at you all the entire game with air attacks. So you really need to work that. Now here's the German artillery battery. Now we have fortified, more anti-air. There's my first in command, my second command. He's out of his squad car giving directions to the troops. There's our artillery commandant with their field table. I mean, the miniatures in this game are amazing. I mean, it really captures the essence of the war. And now that we've got this board with no seams, we've got a small little French town recreated here. They're basically just going to go at it. I mean, you got some SS troops that are being sent up by Hitler himself. And you've got the Americans. This list is basically taken from the Battle of the Bulge book, Battle of the Lorraine. We're going to have our half tracks with Americans, our mixed platoon that we talked about in another video. It's got 2 Easy 8s. No, I'm sorry, 1 Easy 8, 2 Jumbos, and 2 standard stock Shermans from early war Shermans. And then another tank brigade here. The Americans have also got the heavy artillery. They can also be used as anti-tank guns, by the way. We got another platoon of American half-tracks. Okay, and we got some American heavy mortars. So like I was saying in the other video, I'm really kind of trying to mimic the German force point for point so that the Americans have a chance. Because let's face it, the Germans, the equipment that they had was just amazing. Here's the American command post. See if I can get this thing to focus. And don't let me forget, if you're just getting into the game and you want to get into the American forces, this is a recon element for, and you can do an ambush. You get that recon element into a woods or on the flanks of the Germans, you know, coming up the side, and that is the Hellcats, the dreaded Hellcats. Now the Hellcats are good if you can get flanking shots, because toe-to-toe against the German Panther, the German Tiger, even the German Panzer IV, I mean, they're going to lose. The German tanks were just too powerful. So, and then there's your P-47s. They're going to be raining down hell onto the Germans the whole game. So this is the list we're kind of toying with. I'd like to, like I said before, enter a tournament. I'm going to bring my Americans and my Germans. I'll probably end up just playing Germans, of course, since obviously I'm crazy German. I love anything related to Germany. I'm going to probably stick with my SS Totenkampf. They are rated fanatic veterans, or what we call fearless veterans in the game. And I invite you to go to Google and Google Totenkampf or the Deadheads SS group, and these guys were like ex-prison guards, you know, totally die-hard Nazi fanatics, you know. So these guys were crazy. I mean, they're the guys when the Soviets captured these guys, they had the Deadhead logo on their lapels and on their hats and on their helmets. They were immediately executed if the Soviets caught you, because these guys were the ones that were going into the villages, and after they won a battle, they'd come through a village and just kill everyone. You know, no one was left. Because you got to remember, right or wrong, and you know, even though I love Germany, I love a lot of the things that the Germans were fighting for, and in theory, in World War II, concerning their national pride and regaining old German territory that was held by the Prussian Empire. You got to consider that was what most German soldiers believed they were fighting for. They did, honestly, a lot of the line troops did not know about the atrocities and weren't really bought into the anti-Jewish sentiment. Right or wrong, we're not going to get into any anti-Semitic conversations on this channel, but there was a lot of hostility after World War One. The way that they felt they were treated unfairly, they felt that they were defending themselves in World War One. They didn't believe they were the aggressors. And World War II was a war that Hitler started inadvertently. Now, Poland, if you study history, Poland and the Eastern Prussian Empire, large areas of Western Russia, were originally held by the Prussian Empire. And Hitler was trying to recapture those territories, for the raw materials, obviously, coal, steel, and just land, so he could expand the German culture. And that's really what the line troop thought he was fighting for. Hey, I'm looking to make things right from World War One. We're going to settle things. We're going to make the French pay. We're going to make the British pay. And we're going to take back Alsace-Lorraine. We're going to take back Poland. We're going to take back Western Russia that were historically Germanic territories. World domination, I'm not so sure that they believed they were going to conquer the whole world. I think they thought they were going to dominate the world through their economics and their influence. But that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, Hitler was wrong with a lot of things that he did, and he kind of went off the rails there. But it was a time where they had superior equipment, superior military training, and they just bullied on Europe for 2 or 3 years. Literally, just bullied on people. They just rolled right over them until the Soviets stepped up and gave them something to fight about. My own personal opinion on the whole deal is we would all be speaking German today if Hitler had not invaded the Soviet Union when he did, and it timed it differently. It's commonly known that the Germans were close to having the bomb, and when he attacked the Soviets and really sapped his resources, and all the generals told him, don't attack the Soviet Union. It's too big. Napoleon tried it. He failed. You're not going to succeed. So things happen for a reason. It didn't work out for Hitler. He put a bullet in his head. Germany lost. There was a lot of horrible things that happened. A lot of people got killed. Stalin killed more people than Hitler in comparison. Stalin was definitely one of the rottenest dictators there ever were. Study your history, you'll see Hitler was 10 times worse than, or Stalin was 10 times worse than Hitler. Not that Hitler was a saint, and I'm not sitting here going rah rah Hitler. I think his heart was in the right place. I think initially when they were first getting the Nazi Party started, I really think he thought, we need a surge in nationalism. We need to retake the German lands. We need to establish a clean, pure culture of Germanic lineage and pride. But as you study history, Napoleon on back to, Caesar, all these people through history, they get started thinking, well, I'm going to have something glorious, and they end up just crashing and burning because they think they're indefensible or undefeatable. They think that no one can beat them. They get cocky and prideful, and then they get beat. So basically that's kind of my opinions on the situation. But it was horrible what happened. I certainly don't condone any type of racial pogroms or evening the score, and all the Jews are this or all the blacks are this. We all know there's good people and bad people of all races, of all religions, and we need to focus on sequestering and putting down those people in our society that aren't good and aren't productive, and not in terms of killing them, but disincentivizing them, and then try to incentivize the people in the world of whatever race or whatever religion that are doing productive, good things. Those people need to be brought up. Okay, we don't want to promote badness and things that are going on that we all know that are negative. We want to promote the people that are being positive and productive. And that's kind of where I see it. So if you don't like that, tough luck. There's a lot of people out here running amok in our society, in our world, that are non-productive, and those people are tearing us down. And that's just the long and short of it. So that's basically my little political rant for today. I wanted to show you how we're getting started on the board, some of the things that I'm experimenting with, and I want to throw this out to you guys. You know, I always go into it with kind of a basic plan, and sometimes I get going and I realize, you know, I need to change this and fix that, and that's just what you do, and that's fine. You don't have to stick to a set plan, and it's a trial and error, just like we did over here with our little test piece. You know, it's trial and error, and that's what this channel is for. It's just to you know, share things, and we can you know, learn from each other, so to speak. So that's basically it. Till next time, ciao.